Long ago, in a kingdom surrounded by vast forests and shining rivers, there lived a noble king and his gentle queen. One winter afternoon, as snow drifted softly from the sky, the queen sat beside a window framed in black ebony wood, sewing quietly. As she worked, she pricked her finger, and 3 drops of bright red blood fell onto the pure white snow outside. The sight struck her heart with wonder. "How beautiful," she whispered. "If only I had a daughter with skin as white as snow, lips as red as blood, and hair as black as this ebony frame." Before long, her wish came true. A baby girl was born, delicate and radiant. They named her Snow White. She grew into a child of rare beauty and even rarer kindness. Her laughter filled the palace halls, and her gentle nature won the love of everyone around her. But happiness is often fragile. Not long after Snow White's birth, the queen fell ill and passed away, leaving the king heartbroken. In time, he remarried, believing the young princess needed a mother's care. The new queen was breathtakingly beautiful, but beneath her elegance lay a heart ruled by pride. She possessed a magical mirror, framed in gold and carved with ancient symbols. Each morning, she would stand before it and ask, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?" For many years, the mirror always replied, "You, my queen, are the fairest of all." This answer pleased her deeply. She valued beauty above all things and believed it was the true measure of worth. Meanwhile, Snow White grew into a graceful young maiden. Her beauty blossomed like a rose in spring. Yet what truly set her apart was her purity of heart. She spoke kindly to servants, comforted the poor, and treated animals with compassion. People admired her not only for her appearance, but for her goodness. One fateful morning, as the queen admired herself once again, she asked her mirror the familiar question. But this time, the mirror answered differently. "My queen, you are fair, it is true, but Snow White is far fairer than you." The word struck the queen like lightning. Her face paled, then flushed with fury. "Impossible," she cried. "No one could be more beautiful than her, especially not the young princess." Jealousy began to twist her thoughts. The idea of Snow White surpassing her in beauty became unbearable. Day and night, the queen could think of nothing else. At last, she made a terrible decision. She summoned a huntsman, a loyal servant of the crown. "Take Snow White into the forest," she commanded coldly. "Kill her and bring me her heart as proof." The huntsman's heart sank, but he dared not disobey. He led Snow White deep into the forest under the excuse of gathering wildflowers. The trees grew taller, the path narrower. Birds fell silent, as if sensing danger. When they reached a quiet clearing, the huntsman stopped. With trembling hands, he drew his knife. Snow White looked at him with confusion that quickly turned to fear. "Why do you look at me so?" she asked softly. Tears filled the huntsman's eyes. He could not bring himself to harm her. "Run," he whispered urgently. "The queen wants you dead. Flee far away and never return." Snow White's heart broke at the betrayal, yet she was grateful for his mercy. Without another word, she ran into the forest. Branches scratched her arms, and thorns tore at her dress, but she did not stop. As night began to fall, the forest grew dark and cold. Strange shadows moved between the trees, and distant howls echoed through the air. Yet no wild creature harmed her. It was as though the forest itself pitied the innocent girl. Exhausted, frightened, and alone, Snow White wandered deeper into the unknown, unaware that her true journey had only just begun. Exhausted from running through the dark forest, Snow White stumbled forward until she saw something unexpected, a tiny cottage nestled between tall pine trees. A faint golden light glowed from its small windows, offering warmth and hope in the cold night. Gathering her courage, she gently pushed open the wooden door and stepped inside. The cottage was unlike anything she had ever seen. Everything was small, 7 tiny chairs arranged around a wooden table, 7 little plates neatly set out, and 7 cups placed carefully beside them. It was clear that whoever lived there valued order and simplicity. Snow White was trembling with hunger. She did not wish to be rude, so she took only a small bite from each plate and a sip from each cup, so that no one would go without their meal. Afterward, she noticed 7 small beds lined up against the wall. Each one was too short for her alone, so she lay across them carefully. Within moments, sleep claimed her. Later that evening, the owners of the cottage returned. They were 7 dwarfs who worked in the mountains nearby, mining precious stones and gold. As they entered, they immediately sensed something was different. "Someone has been sitting in my chair," said the first. "Someone has been eating from my plate," said the second. "Someone has been drinking from my cup," added the third. When they reached their beds, they gasped. There, stretched across all 7, lay a beautiful young girl fast asleep. Instead of anger, they felt wonder. They had never seen such beauty or innocence before. They gently woke her, and Snow White, frightened at first, told them everything: the jealous queen, the huntsman, and her escape into the forest. The dwarfs listened carefully. Though they were simple miners, they had kind hearts. After a moment of quiet discussion, they offered her shelter. "You may stay with us," they said, "but you must keep the house tidy, cook our meals, and be careful. The queen may still seek you." Snow White gratefully agreed. For the first time since fleeing the castle, she felt safe. Days turned into weeks. Each morning, the dwarfs left for the mountains while Snow White cleaned the cottage, prepared meals, and sang softly as she worked. Her voice filled the small home with warmth and joy. In the evenings, they shared stories by the fire. Laughter slowly replaced fear. But far away in the palace, the evil queen once again stood before her magical mirror. Confident in Snow White's death, she asked her daily question: "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?" The mirror replied, "My queen, you are fair, it is true, but Snow White beyond the mountains, with the 7 dwarfs, is fairer than you." The queen's scream echoed through the palace halls. Snow White was alive. The huntsman had betrayed her. Rage burned hotter than ever before. This time, she decided to act herself. Using dark magic and ancient spells, she transformed her appearance into that of a crooked old peddler woman. Her beauty vanished beneath wrinkles and rags. In her basket, she carried brightly colored silk laces. She traveled through the forest until she found the dwarf's cottage. Knocking gently, she called out in a trembling voice, "Fine laces for sale, beautiful laces." Snow White remembered the dwarf's warning not to speak to strangers. But the old woman's voice seemed harmless. After a moment of hesitation, she opened the door slightly. The disguised queen smiled sweetly. "Such a lovely girl should not wear such plain clothes. Let me lace your dress properly." Trusting her, Snow White allowed the old woman inside. The queen pulled the laces tighter and tighter until Snow White could barely breathe. Then she tied them with cruel force and left, laughing quietly. When the dwarfs returned that evening, they found Snow White lying unconscious on the floor. Horrified, they quickly cut the tight laces. Slowly, color returned to her face. She gasped for air and opened her eyes. The dwarfs warned her firmly, "You must never open the door again." Snow White promised. But the queen, learning once more from her mirror that Snow White still lived, prepared an even deadlier plan, one that would leave no chance for rescue. When the queen returned to her palace, she rushed once more to her magical mirror. With anger still burning in her heart, she demanded, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?" The mirror answered calmly, "My queen, you are fair, it is true, but Snow White beyond the mountains, with the 7 dwarfs, is far fairer than you." The queen trembled with fury. Her first attempt had failed. Snow White still lived. This time, she swore there would be no mistake. She turned again to dark magic, brewing a powerful poison unlike any before. Then she transformed herself into a different disguise, this time an old farmer's wife carrying a basket of fresh, shining apples. Among them was one apple that looked the most beautiful of all, red, glossy, and perfect. But one half of it was poisoned so deeply that a single bite would bring death-like sleep. Meanwhile, Snow White had become more cautious after the lace incident. She kept the doors and windows shut while the dwarfs were away at work. But when the disguised queen arrived and knocked gently, Snow White refused to open the door. "I cannot let you in," she called. "The dwarfs warned me." The old woman pretended to sigh. "I understand, child. I only wish to sell my apples. See how fresh and sweet they are." Snow White hesitated. The apples truly looked delicious. Seeing her uncertainty, the queen cleverly cut the poisoned apple in half. She kept the safe white side for herself and handed the red poison half to Snow White. "See," she said kindly, taking a bite from her half. "There is nothing to fear." Reassured, Snow White opened the window slightly and accepted the red half. The moment her teeth sank into it, she felt a strange dizziness. The apple fell from her hand. Her body grew cold, and she collapsed to the floor, motionless. The queen smiled cruelly. "Now," she whispered, "you are no longer fairer than I." When the dwarfs returned home that evening, they sensed something was terribly wrong. They found Snow White lying on the ground, pale and still. They searched desperately for a cause, cutting her laces, combing her hair, but nothing worked. She did not awaken. Heartbroken, they could not bring themselves to bury her. She looked too beautiful, too peaceful, as if merely sleeping. Instead, they placed her in a glass coffin upon a hill surrounded by flowers. There, they kept watch over her day and night, mourning their beloved friend. Even forest animals gathered in quiet sorrow. Days passed, then weeks. Yet Snow White's beauty did not fade. One afternoon, a prince traveling through the forest came upon the hill. He saw the glass coffin and was struck with awe at the sight of the girl within. He listened as the dwarfs told her tragic story. Deeply moved, he asked permission to take the coffin to his castle so she might be honored and remembered. As his servants carefully lifted the coffin, they stumbled slightly on the rocky path. The sudden jolt dislodged the small piece of poisoned apple stuck in Snow White's throat. She coughed and opened her eyes. The dwarfs cried out with joy. The prince, overwhelmed with relief and wonder, helped her stand. Snow White looked around in confusion, but soon understood that she had been saved. The prince spoke gently and promised to protect her always. Snow White, grateful and kind as ever, agreed to return with him. News of their wedding spread across kingdoms. Even the queen, unaware of Snow White's survival, was invited. But when she asked her mirror once more who was the fairest of all, the mirror answered, "My queen, the young bride is fairer than you." Consumed by rage and fear, the queen traveled to the wedding, only to discover that the bride was Snow White herself, alive and radiant. Shock and fury overwhelmed her dark heart, and she fled in disgrace. Snow White and the prince were married in a grand celebration filled with music, laughter, and light. After long suffering, peace finally returned, and in time, the kingdom remembered not the queen's jealousy, but Snow White's kindness, proof that purity of heart shines brighter than envy ever could.